watching another edition of Cover to Cover, our guide to the Sikh and Punjabi books that you need to read. Before we take a look at this week's book, Lost in History 1984 Reconstructed by Gunisha Kaur, let's hear from another one of our viewers talking about their favourite book.
My favourite book is Virgil's Aeneid. It's my favourite book because it's about a single man who has to lose everything, his wife, his children, his homeland, and then seeks about rebuilding this in a new place. The idea of rebuilding, recreating and starting afresh is something that I think is very personal to me in my career as an architect, but also personally in terms of my life experience. That's why Virgil's Aeneid is my favourite book.
Lost in History 1984 Reconstructed is a book that was first published in 2004, written by Gunisha Kaur. This particular edition was published in 2009 by the Sikh Spirit Foundation. As the title suggests, and you can probably tell from the cover of the book, this book tells the story of what took place in 1984 and the repercussions of that particular event for the Punjab and India and South Asia on a wider scale. The author, Gunisha Kaur, is an American human rights activist and undertook her undergrad in Cornell University, where she became interested in the human rights violations that were taking place across South Asia, particularly in India. Now, there are a huge number of books that have been written about what took place in 1984 in the Punjab and in India, and Gunisha Kaur's book, however, is one of those that you might not have heard of before. If there's any one book that you need to read about 1984, it's this one, because it surmises everything that led up to those events and everything that took place during those events, including the genocide that was instigated in Delhi in November and the events that followed on after it. The author has done a great amount of work in this book to ensure that everything that she states is fully referenced. She references newspapers, broadcast television and radio. She references other authors, writers, existing books, reports from human rights organizations, speeches made by different people, by politicians, you name it, it's all in this book. The book itself is made up of some 10 chapters, and as you can see from the spine, is actually quite thin and incredibly easy to read. The chapters and the content itself only makes up some 90 odd pages. Chapter 3 is titled Building of Tensions, Chapter 6 is The Nameless Operation, and Chapter 9 is Lawlessness of the Administration. Gunisha Kaur has gone really in depth and has managed to do so very succinctly in a book where, more than anything else, she is providing references and directing the reader towards factual events and occurrences. She doesn't make this book into an account that might be deemed to be propagandist or biased in any way. Every item is referenced, and I can't stress that enough. We want to know what you think, so please drop us a comment below and let us know what you think of Lost in History 1984 Reconstructed by Gunisha Kaur. Join us again for another edition of Cover to Cover, our guide to the Sikh and Punjabi books that you need to read.